Hi everyone. Well, I thought I'd give you a bit of a rundown of my experience attending the Sydney Opera House. So we were going to a concert in the concert hall, which is upstairs. So last time we were there was about 18 months ago, and we were in the drama theatre, which is down on sort of more or less ground level. So this time it was upstairs. So I was a little bit anxious because I thought, last time we were there, I had a run-in with the security because they have the metal detectors. Now, I get that it's the Sydney Opera House. I get that it's a landmark, and I get that they want to be secure. But it is apart from the Sydney Town Hall, I do not know of anywhere else in Sydney that has metal detectors. Now, this is a concert, a venue as a theatre. It's promoted as a theatre venue, theatrical, and it's got metal detectors. So it doesn't sit right with me for that, but, take your pick. It is what it is. But because I had a run-in previously with the security, because I have a metal device in my chest, I cannot go through those devices. So I said to Mum, let's go early. Now, the difference this time to last time, I had my lanyard, my sunflower lanyard saying hidden disabilities, which I'll talk about in another video. I had my cane, really because my night vision isn't always great, and I thought I might need it trying to find a taxi to get home. And my mum had her walker, which she didn't have last time we went. So we went into the building. Thankfully, security hadn't set up. We were a couple of hours early. Managed to get the tickets at box office. No drama. I asked the ushers. I said after a little while, we'd sat down. We'd, had a look around. We'd sat down. And then I said to Mum, do you want to try and go upstairs and, maybe sit upstairs? And she said yes. Spoke to the usher and I said, look, there's stairs and escalators. Mum can't do that with the walker. How do we get up? She said, if you go round the corner to the purple seats, there, Martin will come and get you. Okay. Presuming that I could see, for one. Two, she didn't tell me how long Martin would be. Now, we ended up waiting another half an hour. So that would have been useful for that extra information to know how much longer we would have to wait. If we'd have been told, we would have, gone and done something else or had a bit of a walk around where we were. But no, so we ended up looking at the shop. Upstairs, Martin, took us up because it's all, operated. They don't let the public use the lift. He said, he checked my ticket. He said, okay, you're in door 4. You need to go right round the outside, and the door's about level to where we are now. My only sort of feedback with that, Martin, is that if I wasn't sighted in any way or I couldn't tell, you would have needed to have given a little bit more information or possibly found an usher to have escorted us there. But for our circumstances tonight, that was fine. I could find the way. Mum followed me, which was really funny in my mind because I had my cane and I'm the one in the front leading the way for Mum. So I was kind of amused about that. Ushers were great. We were actually, they let us go up to the end of our row. We were in the middle. Once we were at the row, Mum and I went in and they parked her walker outside. They asked if she'd wanted in intermission and she said no. But during intermission, she wanted me to go and get a couple of things from the merchandise desk. So I used my cane. Some people moved out of the way, which was really nice. Others they were more interested in getting to the bar, and I could have easily have, hit several people in the ankles, which wouldn't have thrilled them. But, if I hadn't been sighted or very limited sight, it probably would have happened. So that's just something I have constantly noticed since I got my cane, that not everybody realizes that they're only sort of worrying about themselves, and they don't think that, you know, there might be somebody in a wheelchair or with a walker or with a cane, and that's, you know, a little bit irritating, but it is how it is. At the end of the night, the usher that spoke to me initially, who told me about Martin, said, you know, explained, yes, go back round to the lift you came up in. There'll be somebody there to operate it. I said, great. Went round, managed to get through the crowd, got in the lift and went down. And Martin was there. And I asked him when we got out of the lift, I said, where's the best place for us to go to get a taxi or an Uber home? And he said, oh, wait right here. Next thing I know, there was a group of people, but a man in a bright orange vest, and he said, what are you waiting for? And I said, well, I just need to know where to get a taxi or an Uber from. He says, oh, that's fine, come with me. Took us through a side door. We ended up down in a lift, down in another lift, right down the bottom in the Sydney Opera House to the underground sort of parking bay area. There was a shuttle bus to take people up to the Circular Quay station who couldn't walk up that far, which I never knew they had, which I was quite impressed with. I thought, you know, I'll file that knowledge away. And they'd called us a taxi, so they were communicating. The guys were communicating. There was somebody in the basement area with us, communicating with somebody up the top near the roundabout where the taxi rank go, and they were getting taxis to come down underneath for anybody there who needed them. There was Mum and me, walker, cane, and there were a couple of other people with walkers, and then the bus. Excuse me. So, you know, and it was really smooth. They were really lovely. I didn't realise that they were calling us one. They were organising it, but that was a big plus for the Sydney Opera House, that they went that extra little step to, you know, make it easier for us instead. You know, and as we drove out, I did see where the taxis were. So in future, you know, I can either choose to ask for one to come down into the basement, or I could go and try and fight with everybody else to get one up on the road. But all up, you know, yeah, there was a couple of little things I thought, you know, if I wasn't so sighted, you know, it might have been a little bit more tricky. But it was really good venue for, you know, accessibility. Now that they have the lifts, those steps at the front of the Opera House, if you've ever seen them, I used to love running up those as a kid. Running down is my problem. I can't see to run down, but that was always something I loved to do as a kid, was to stand up there and look around up and cross at the Harbour Bridge and the Botanic Gardens and round to Mrs. Macquarie's chair. So it's a lovely spot. I'm looking forward to going back again. But yeah, so that's just my tip, and I did film a little bit of what it's like inside the concert hall, which I will add to this little video for your enjoyment. So yeah, my tips on accessibility at Sydney Opera House: go early, make sure you speak up, be prepared that they have stairs, escalators and lifts, and if you are going into the concert hall, the first section, so we were in row E. I don't know how far back, but the first section in the stalls at the front is all on one level, so you will not need to use stairs if you are seated in that part of the concert hall. So there you go.